me, and I used on occasion as a reference Bible. However, this Bible is the Bible that I found in the hotel room in Traverse City, Michigan, and when the gentleman told me to open up to the book of Psalms 40:41, and I opened the book up and placed it upon my head, that was where that happened, in a Night's Inn in Traverse City, Michigan. And I actually put my finger right on this, which doesn't say Psalms 40:41, but it says Psalms 39 to 41, and on the page is in fact Psalms 40 and 41. So that's why I say that the spirits follow me around. And of course, there is a video on YouTube denoted as DOA, the Cross of Christ, in which a spirit entity spoke with me for 2 hours and demanded that I walk down the block and retrieve a suitcase because there was a cross made of gold and platinum with my name on it. And inside the manila envelope that I took out of the suitcase when I brought the suitcase back to my mother's basement was a manila envelope that said, "For Michael." And this is the cross that was in the manila envelope that said, "For Michael." Now, it's not solid gold or solid platinum. It is in fact plated, and you can see on the edges that the plating is starting to wash off of it. However, the point of the story was that in fact an entity spoke to me on a subconscious but loud voice inside my head and told me that that cross would bring me, it would bring me to the point of consciousness where there would be no doubt that in fact there was a spirit entity that controls all that exists in this world. And from that day on, I was absolutely certain that this spirit entity was some sort of a guide in my life. And this exact day of May 10th, in Traverse City, in a place called Night's Inn, the day I opened up the Bible to this page, when the person on the television set demanded that I stand up and go to the drawer and open up the Bible. And inside the Bible would be the answer to the question I was working on in my room, in my mind, wondering whether or not I was insane, ladies and gentlemen. I was wondering whether I was insane. So from that day on, I studied every aspect of every religion and theology, and every aspect of every different philosophical belief system in the world that I could read about either at the library or in person. And I spent 35 years of my life, all told, since the day I was stabbed to death in 1970. When on December 15th, my back was slashed open. Let's see if you can see that. I'm sure you should be able to still see that. I haven't seen it in a while. It's not something I look at often. Theoretically, you should still be able to see that scar, which was at the time from the center of my back to my at my spine to my kidney, around the outside of my kidney. In any event, I don't know if you could see the scar. I probably have pictures of it someplace. But on December 15th, I was in fact stabbed to death. after my dad had the premonition on December 11th that I would probably be dead. And what you're looking at in the background that says pedestrians use footwalk is one of the most famous pieces of architecture from Howard Beach, Queens, that used to set upon a bridge that fell down, wink wink, that fell down, I believe it was in October of 1970, when some children were seen playing on the bridge. And immediately afterwards, the bridge that was in a vertical position, which was a cable bridge with counterweights, when the bridge that was in a cable vertical position with counterweights collapsed, wink wink. And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have a snippet of where I make these ridiculous videos. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to set this camera on this tripod, and I'm going to rearrange my desk. And that was one small piece of my life, the life of Michael Fazio, that probably no one cares about and no one ever will care about. So what I did to make sure that never happened was I wrote a book called Angels on the Ark by Michael Fazio, proving, after all the studies that I actually got involved with, especially the study of Hatha Yoga and Tantric Yoga under the guise of a gentleman named Norm Tolson, whom I met in 1973, who was actually one of the people who created or helped invent high-speed photography. Now, his name might not be associated with high-speed photography because he worked as a choreographer for the United States Mafia back in 1940. And probably, well, when I met Norm in 1973, he was already 66 years old. So he was in fact born and went into the Air Force at the age of 18 back in the mid-30s, I believe. However, Norm taught philosophical studies that had to do with metaphysical concepts. And what Norm taught us was Tantric Yoga meditation, Zen Buddhism, and then he taught all the philosophies of the world. Because wherever he went, when he worked for the United States Air Force as a choreographer and film cinematography, Norm learned about the psychic powers of the human being's minds. And when Norm went to these foreign countries with the Air Force, the United States Mafia used to bring or allow Norm to go to the different countries of the world and study under their masters. And while he was studying under their masters, all of their ritualistic ceremonies and events, he would record on film and he would record on tape. Howbeit, the film and the tape were ancient in today's terms, the United States government had a very, very descriptive plan and allowed Norm, in fact instructed Norm, to learn all that he could know about the mystical aspect of the universe. Because even back in the 40s, the United States government was trying to utilize psychic powers that they knew existed because of the literature that was handed down through Christianity, for sure, in texts that we have never read, but in the Mayan cultures and the Egyptian cultures and the Incan cultures and the Aztec cultures, these people that once existed in today's society, that I associate with the pictographs on the $1 bill that because there are faces of Egyptian gods and there are faces of Mayan gods, plus there is the portrait or pictograph of the Great Pyramid on the $1 bill. And for what other reason would they place the picture of the Great Pyramid on the reverse of the $1 bill if it didn't play a significant role in history? Why would they place a pictograph of the Egyptian pyramid? Well, I can briefly give you a synopsis as to why they created the pyramid on the back of the $1 bill. They put it there because the race of beings, the entities, the godlike deities that have been controlling every aspect of this world since the dawn of history, our history and the dawn of history, because on the reverse of the $1 bill that you're going to see in these pictographs, and in fact what appears on my screen as a screensaver, is a picture of a pictograph of a vampire bat that existed in the oceans as the